The procedure was as follows. I mean, it started off with, so they had a short list of 150 people, which was basically everyone who was above the CGPA of 7.5, with a very few exceptions. The shortlisted candidates were actually divided into a group of 10 people per group, which was given a group discussion. So the fact was that they gave a abstract kind of a group discussion wherein my group was given the topic based on technology alone, and the moderator was trying to moderate the group discussion in the sense that they wanted to bring different aspects from different people. So, for example, they asked technology, how does it affect the common man, or how is it going to impact the future, or how does it relate to India specifically. So things like these, and the procedure at the first stage involved you to be in this group discussion, and the key takeaways from this group discussion from the selection that had happened was were that you do not really need to dominate the group discussion, which means that you need to just uh, have a constructive discussion and try to be open to others' points of views, etc., etc. So it was very simple as this. Although it was overly moderated, this is something quite unusual which happens in GD. So that was one of things with this group discussion. The procedure then went into, so the people who were selected from this round were taken into a round wherein we were asked to do a guesstimate session. But the key difference in this guesstimate session was that we had to actually sit in a group of 6 people and collectively solve the same problem. So this was again something unique that was tried by them, and it involved us 6 first of all solving the guesstimate on our own in a very short span of time, which meant the very first idea that we get to solve the guesstimate was to be applied. Then we had to actually take up a discussion as to how everyone has done it, pitch the idea to the group, and then talk about the salient features of each other's guesstimates and try to figure out the best way to do it, or if possible multiple ways of doing it. So the idea was again to not dominate each other, and the idea was to actually bring out the best from each other, and the fact that in a group you had the chance of probably leading the group, which meant that you could, for in this kind of a group discussion, you had the chance of leading the group to a particular structure of discussion. So I chose to do that, and I was pretty much I think that was what worked for me. So they looked into this fact that you are open to this again. They were very much peculiar about this very fact that you are good in working in groups. So this is the key takeaway from this. And by the end, they asked for us to give some out of the box ideas to solve the same estimate, which meant that they were looking for people who could probably think out of the box in a very short span of time. So that was another key takeaway from there. So the guesstimate involved us to actually calculate the number of fuel station, the amount of fuel given by a station in any city, which meant that the moderator was not pretty much keen about what kind of details that you ask, which meant that he was pretty apprehensive sharing exact details of the city, which meant we had to work with variables and give him a standard approach which would probably work as a framework to all kinds of cities that you give. So that was another silent feature. I mean, they were looking for the approach, and so one of the approaches that was used in our group was, and which probably was the best, was that you try to calculate the demand of the entire city in terms of its fuel usage, which was actually calculated using the amount of transportation trucks that would probably be there, the number of households which would have, and the cars that they'll have, and things like this. So you have to divide it in terms of the cars the vehicles that will probably consume the different kinds of fuels, and then that will give you a total fuel usage. And that was one part of the estimate. The second part was that you estimate how it is supplied across the city. So you try to understand how much of fuel is supplied, let's say, per station per day. That and dividing the demand by the supply would probably give you the total amount of fuel given per day. So this was a very straightforward and pretty much deductive approach of solving this guesstimate. Um, so this was one of the best one. As I've already mentioned, they were looking for out of the box ideas as well. So one of the out of the box ideas was in terms of how much an average household spends on fuel. So what one girl had done in my group was that she calculated the revenue generated by, let's say, an average fuel station per day. That was to be and she also calculated the total amount spent by households across the city. So how that helped was, again, it's basically simple maths. When you know the total amount spent and you divide it by the average revenue, you get the total number of fuel stations. So that was quite an out of the box idea to actually approach this problem. So these were the two approaches that were the order. So my tips for preparation for placements would be like, you should first of all have a very well prepared resume. Now I know that it's a cliche, but it is something that really helps to get ahead of the others. So that's point number one. So point number two is that you should have a targeted approach to placements, which means that you should not really try to target every kind of company that comes in. You should know what you're targeting, you should know what you're preparing for, and you should really focus on those targets so as to have a very specific set of companies that you need to get into. And thirdly is that a lot of people many a times underestimate HR, which means that they feel that it's very intuitive, it's very obvious, and preparation in terms of HR is not really as necessary as it is deemed by many people, which is a real myth. It should not be taken to be something which can be very easily ignored. HR is something that can make or break your entire preparation and make or break everything at the last moment. So this is something that one should take care about. So these are the 3 points.